AMC stock could be set up for a reversal big time. You're seeing some of the worst put to call ratios that we have seen in the history of AMC Entertainment. Factors such as this and other things that we will talk about in this video could lead to a potential gamma squeeze, if not a short squeeze, or both in the coming weeks. Now, I want to talk about AMC stock this week, as well as the data coming out for the markets, because it's another big week, even though it's a short week. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I apologize for these videos coming out later in the day than usual. Usually Sunday videos come out at like noon and 4. These videos are much later today. Ortex just did not want to work, and I didn't feel right making a video without Ortex. So let's go ahead and get into all of this information. Hit the like button if you want some sweet tendies, as well as subscribe to the channel if you want to keep those tendies flowing. If you want to come make tendies with us, link down below in the description of this video for the trading community. Now, AMC stock sitting at very low levels. We talked about this in the last video, so I don't want to repeat a lot of that same information, but just know AMC is very low, right? It's been falling. It's been on a downward trajectory for a long time now, and that might soon change. The court proceedings are obviously going to have a dilutive effect on AMC once this reverse split goes through, once you know, the court situation is done. It's going to have a dilutive effect on AMC. We know this. Expect this. It's going to happen. But it's probably going to be offset by people getting excited about AMC again. Because fundamentally speaking, things have been pretty good for AMC. As far as the actual business itself, they've been running through too much money. Okay? The dollar hollers just ain't flowing the way the dollar hollers should be. Or could be. Now, the debt service on AMC is massive. It's hundreds of millions of dollars every month or every 3 months. It's big, right? Over $5 billion worth of total debt outstanding. It's a problem. While this court situation, once it's over with and AMC can do the reverse split and raise capital, that's no longer going to be an issue, right? AMC's capital stance will no longer be in question. Last time AMC's capital stance was no longer in question, what happened to AMC? The stock fucking ripped. It ripped. This was June, right? Last time AMC secured a lot of capital, and subsequently after that, the stock stayed at very elevated prices. Now, I've talked about this before, and I'll say it again. I think AMC's just share price going higher in the form of a reverse split will drive a lot of attention to AMC in a way that a lot of people have not thought about it as of recently.
My baby's sleeping.
Your baby's sleeping. Okay. A lot of people don't know about what's happening with this court situation. This is not really in the headlines too much, right? AMC's kind of just been doing its thing, trending downwards for a while. I think there's going to be a lot more people that start to talk about AMC again when this court situation is finally resolved. So there's a couple things that are happening right now. Now, typically, you don't want to, take the same bet as everyone else, right? Usually, you don't want to do that. Now, look at this put to call ratio chart. It is massive in the red, right? You usually see about a 1-to-1 ratio for calls and puts. You usually see about the same amount of calls and puts. That's pretty typical. Well, now you're seeing over triple the amount of puts compared to calls. And we monitor this using the option flow data and things of that nature, and we've highlighted this many times, that hedge funds, institutions have been buying like crazy these puts. This has put a lot of downside pressure on AMC as of recently. It's actually a miracle the stock is at, over $4 per share. You would think with a put to call ratio this bad that you wouldn't even be at $4 per share. You'd be at like $2 per share. Well, we're not at $2 per share. And the put to call ratio is way negative here. right? At the same time, AMC's business itself has been improving. Now, you've seen some buying of AMC shares as of recently. For an example, on June 29th, Invesco did buy more AMC, bought 477,000 worth of AMC. You have seen quite a bit of buying as of recently from some hedge funds and institutions. Some funds have been buying AMC as well. iShares, Edge, MSCI, Multi-Factor USA Small Cap ETF just bought another 181,000 shares of AMC. This fund increased their position by over 30%. Things of that nature you have seen, but some of the option activity, like I said, is very, very negative. And a matter of fact, you've finally seen the first increase to institutional ownership in quite a while for AMC. We've been on a downtrend ever since back here of, I guess, mid-2022. You really have seen this fall almost every month. Well, now you've actually seen it increase from the month of May to June for the first time in quite a while. It looks like funds had net purchases of AMC over 10 million shares. So when I think about this logically from a trading perspective, when the situation is so negative and you're about to get an event that changes that makes it not negative anymore, that makes AMC capital stance no longer in question, that's something that I would want to bet bullish on. Now, an example of where I would not be betting bullish on, another stock with similar things happening with AMC is if the company was going bankrupt, or if it was in just a secular downturn, like even GameStop. I mean, people point to that as like GameStop don't have any debt. They're finally getting back to profitability. What's GameStop's long-term business look like? I mean, at best, AMC is flat. It's not going to fall that much. What's GME's fundamental business going to look like 20 years from now? It's not going to be here in its current form, right? That's a huge problem, I guess, for GME. Now, not to take away from that, it's a great trade as well. But those are some of the things that I am kind of asking myself and trying to think about here. So these are things that do make me quite bullish. Now, as far as AMC's Ortex data, if you guys have not seen the last video, the option activity quite negative over the past couple of weeks. Option activity last week was quite negative as well. Now, if we look at some of the short interest numbers, you're sitting at a short interest of free float at 23.62%, free float out on loan at 37.5%, and shares out on loan 193.7 million. Days to cover sitting at 9, utilization at 92%, and cost to borrow fees trailing 3-month at 177%. $540 million worth of short positions currently on AMC. Cost to borrow fees are increasingly getting higher and higher, really helping to squeeze shorts. Not quite out of their positions as of yet, but squeezing shorts. Cost to borrow average at 782.5%. Cost to borrow max 1,060%. Cost to borrow minimum at 8%. Interactive Brokers has a 251.5% cost to borrow fee. Now, I think, in particular for AMC, again, I want to highlight this. Fundamentally, things are going to get better for AMC, right? When they raise capital, fundamentally, that's positive. Even if it is dilutive, that's positive. If you're a short, wouldn't you want to cover before that actually happens? Probably. So I think between now, like this week and next week, before you get an ultimate decision from Morgan, from the judge, you probably are going to get some very active days for AMC. You're probably going to see some big upswings, right? Just like even what we seen last week. I forget what day it is, so let's go ahead and look. This day back here, this was June 28th. Out of nowhere, the stock rallied 10%. Like, out of literal nowhere. What happened here? You've seen some calls getting bought. About a million total calls that got bought. Or maybe not a million. It was quite a bit. Maybe it was 1.5 around that. Million shares be bought due to the calls. So I expect things of this nature to start happening a little bit more frequently, and there to be a little bit more volatility in AMC. Now, what you've done ever since then is really trade sideways, right? This is the literal definition of trading sideways. I think if you were to see the sell-off in AMC, this big grand sell-off that was going to happen after the court date, probably would have happened already, because it's likely that the judge is going to allow this to go through, right? That's the most likely outcome here. Now, things that could affect AMC in this upcoming week include the data. And we're going to have a lot of data coming out this week. So let's go ahead and give you guys a rundown of everything you need to know for this week as far as the data is concerned. So Monday, tomorrow, it's going to be a half day of trading. 10 o'clock in the morning, the ISM Manufacturing PMI, you're expecting 48. Anything under 50 is contractionary. Let me tell you right now, markets don't care about the Fed anymore. Markets don't care about anything. As long as inflation continues to trend down, that's all fine and dandy. If it trends up again, that's going to be bad. We'll talk about that if that happens. But it's all about the economy. It's all about a recession or no recession. That's it. That is the only thing that matters as of right now. So keep that in mind. Now, Tuesday, you're going to see a nothing day because the markets are closed for trading. Happy 4th of July. Now, Wednesday, you're going to get FOMC minutes at 2 p.m., and that's going to be it. Now, the FOMC minutes are a transcript of what happened essentially at the last Fed meeting. So if we get any new details or anything that's different than what we already previously thought or expected, that's going to be kind of what we are going to react to. It usually doesn't give us a big reaction, but we'll see. Now, at 5 o'clock in the morning as well on Thursday, you are going to get European retail sales. Now, this could actually be pretty important. You're expecting retail sales to be down negative 3.2% year over year, and you're expecting retail sales to recover from 0% last month to 0.3% positive this month. If this comes in worse than expectations, you could see that, global recession narrative kind of come back to life. Now, Thursday, 8:30 in the morning, the balance of trade is highlighted as a big event. It never is, so don't pay attention to that. You are going to have ISM Services PMI. That's expected to come in at 50. Lower the better here at 10 o'clock in the morning. And JOLTS job openings. You're expecting 9.9 million. Last month's reading was 10.1 million. You want to see this decline? Thank you. This is a way that the labor market can tighten without the unemployment rate going higher. This is what Fed Jerome Powell says. So if you see job openings going down, that's going to be a positive thing for our markets as long as they don't go down too much. If job openings go down by 1 million or 2, well, that's probably not going to be seen as a positive thing. If they go down 200,000 to 500,000, that's probably more normal to the markets, and that's probably a bullish thing. Now, Friday is going to be the big day for the markets. 8:30 in the morning, you're going to get non-farm payrolls for June. You're expecting 250,000. Again, you don't want to see negative numbers here, and you don't want to see super positive numbers. So coming in between 200,000 and 250,000 is probably the best case scenario. If you come in 100,000, 120, 130,000, somewhere in that range, probably going to be in for a pretty steep sell-off in the markets, as the markets start to think that recession might be a little bit closer than not. Now, what happened last month was interesting. You actually grew 339,000 jobs, but the unemployment rate ticked up from 3.4% to 3.7%. So a big move in unemployment, but that was not matched with the non-farm payrolls that actually increased, 339,000 jobs. So watch for that discrepancy again, see how that affects things. You're also going to get manufacturing payrolls, government payrolls, average weekly hours, things that we get before. And people have pointed out in a couple of these payroll reports so far, if it wasn't for government jobs, if it wasn't for, the actual government, the payroll numbers would look a lot weaker. So keep that in mind. That's something that got called out last time around. We'll see if that happens again this time around. Now, as far as this week, let me give you guys a little bit of a price prediction of kind of what I'm looking for, right? Again, I do expect a lot more volatility. I do expect some bigger moves, but I really don't expect a big drop or a big rally this week. That's not really what I'm expecting. If you've seen the last video, that that's just not what I'm expecting. Now, to see some big moves intraday, things of that nature, that's kind of what I'm expecting. Now, I think on a best case scenario, 200-day moving average is still the level of resistance. That is still where things would probably stop out this week. That's at $5.69 per share. And as far as the low, around $4.20 per share was a solid level of support last week, and I think that will continue to be a support level this week. Although I don't expect a big move in either direction. I think an uptrend here, as we have currently set forth ever since the stock hit about $4 per share recently, last week and Friday of last week of the week before. You hit this low at about $4 per share. You probably do trend upwards from here. Now, my base case would be around $4.70 per share, maybe as close as $5 per share. That's kind of what I would expect for this week. But again, you're not going to see a 50 or 100% week from here. I strongly believe that big up move comes next week when you're going to get a ruling from the judge. I think that narrative again of, things being bad and never getting better for AMC is gone once AMC raises a lot of capital. And that's where Gamma Squeeze comes into play here, because there's not a lot of option activity at all for the week of July 14th. You only have 1,500 calls in the money, 28,000 calls out the money, about 20,000 puts in the money, and 18,000 puts that are out the money for that expiration. It's by far the lowest option expiration that we have seen in a very long time. If you start to get a flood of calls coming in, or some hedge funds and institutions actually selling some of their puts, that could mean a pretty big upside movement for AMC stock. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this video. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.